More than statute.
You're live.
Yeah, allocated to the fund pursuant to statute, and then anywhere else you commit it, it's not great, but
Right now.
oh, all right.
That's all right.
Yep.
Ready?
We're live.
Okay, this is Senate Transportation Conference Committee on the fee bill, or House and Senate. Why don't you go through the proposal from the Senate on NBA, and then I have no problem going through this tip.
Okay.
So why don't we just get started?
All right. So the Senate proposal on the EMBA, pull that up. So this would start from the position of the Senate's original, or the Senate's proposal on mileage-based user fee. The first 3 pages keep the findings from the Senate's proposal. Get into the actual EMBA on page 4. Your first change is a technical change on page 5, line 6. The time period between the initial registration of a vehicle and an annual inspection. That captures vehicle owners who are moving to Vermont, as well as newly purchased or newly leased vehicles. And that's a change from the Senate language that was upon purchase or lease. So moving on to page 10. This is the technical change proposed by the agency for to clarify payment timelines for mileage reporting periods that end within 60 days of registration renewal. Because of the complications if someone decides to appeal the amount due, the agency has proposed that if your mileage reporting period ends within 60 days prior to your next required registration renewal, payment would be due on the sooner of your next subsequent registration renewal. So next one after that, the termination of the vehicle's registration or the sale of the vehicle or termination of the vehicle's lease as applicable. So that would cover moving out of the state, selling the vehicle, ending the lease, etc.
And this was because of the notice you get, it's time to register, and you might, and you
Right. So, well, there's
that time period.
right. So you get advance notice that it's time to renew your registration, and you also have 45 days to appeal the amount due. And so what you might run into is if someone realized that there was an error, thinks there was an error in the calculation, they may be appealing the amount due. And in the meantime, they may have renewed the registration on their vehicle without paying the amount due. And so the other way we approach this sort of scenario is to have people put money into escrow, but that would really complicate things here. So instead, this just allows them to delay payment until that later date. There's nothing that prevents the individual from paying in advance of their next subsequent registration or moving out of the state or whatever it is. So. The next piece in here that's different than the underlying Senate proposal is again another technical change on page 14. This is clarifying that, so this is instances where you've been assessed a default amount because, or an owner or lessee has been assessed a default amount because they failed to get an inspection at the end of their mileage reporting period. So the Senate proposal allowed for them to get an inspection within 90 days. after the date on which the vehicle's registration is renewed, and then they would be able to receive a credit for any difference between the $178 default amount and the amount that was actually due. The technical clarification is provided that the commissioner has sufficient odometer data to determine the mileage traveled since the beginning of the reporting period. And so that prevents someone from taking advantage of this if they haven't gotten any inspections. So you have to have actually had an initial odometer reading to take advantage of that. The next is in the transition provision. Again, this is the same concept. You can get a credit for your road usage charge or EV infrastructure fee paid if you've gotten all required annual safety inspections during the transition period. The next changes here are clarifying on page 23 in the transition plan that one of the things they would provide for is a system to provide fuel tax credits for vehicles that use gasoline or diesel fuel based on the vehicle's fuel economy that are automatically applied to reduce the mileage based user fee for the vehicle to ensure that all covered vehicles are contributing in an equitable manner. And then getting into,
So the section 12, this is the transition plan report. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
the report.
Yeah.
And then the actual expansion begins on page 27. And so the Senate's proposal here is their original version was to expand to all hybrids. And this would just expand in 2029 to plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. And so it defines covered vehicle as a PEV, plug-in electric vehicle, which is either a plug-in hybrid or a battery electric, or all electric, as some folks like to say. And then in section 15, the default rate at that point, the flat rate would increase to $375 so that you couldn't undercut the cap by just choosing the flat rate. The cap goes away. So you wouldn't undercut it anyway, but on page 29, the cap is deleted. And then in section 16, no changes there. That's the default rate of $375. So again, your flat rate and your default rate are the same. And then in section 17, because plug-in hybrid electric vehicles would be incorporated into the EMBA, this is a technical correction from the Senate version where I had forgotten to include the infrastructure fee that's paid by plug-in hybrids, which Patrick Murphy from the agency taught. And so that's included here. And so this would repeal the infrastructure fee for plug-in hybrids at that time. So the last couple of sections would have a January 1, 2029 effective date, which is not in this draft, but would go into the final report if you decide to move forward with this concept.
You mean section 15 and 16 would be 2021, 2019?
Sections 14, 15, and 16 would be 2029. Yeah, so everything from the reader assistance heading on page 27 that says expansion of MBUF to hybrid vehicles, and that should really say to plug-in hybrid vehicles. I forgot to put that, so I'll do it now.
And start 29, July 1st. What date of 29?
January 1st, 2029. Sorry about that. My allergies are making me a little less clear.
Yeah.
And I might
I keep forgetting what year it is.
Yeah.
How many years from now is 20?
Very.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. But it's all good.
What was,
We'll see. Yeah, no, obviously we appreciate the counter proposal, you know, something obviously we'll have to look at, and consider. We're not, you know, prepared to say, you know, yes or no, but I think it's something that we should improve upon. And we might have a counter, but thank you for this. And
You want to go through your,
yeah, you know, as I mentioned earlier this morning, you know, one of the, you know, things that I really think is worthwhile to get ahead of for these charging stations, to get more prevalent throughout the state of Vermont is recapturing the revenue that is generated from the electricity, you know, the sales tax. But currently it doesn't generate that much, you know, ballpark is 400,000 or maybe or less, depends on who you're talking to. It is, in today's 21st century, that is our gas pump, you know, that is revenue. I think it should be directly for its transportation fund. So I tried to, in consultation with Damien to come up with some language to sort of, hey, have the tax department look at this, sort of come up with some suggestions how we can do this. They were fully on board. They had concerns about it because there's just so few of them and sharing tax, you know, priority information and all that stuff. But I still think it's worthwhile. Maybe we can massage it even more to have some sort of statement saying, hey, you know, we need to, you know, recoup this money. And so if Damon wants to, and you can, yeah, Damien's gonna.
you have it that you can put up on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. Right?
Definitely do.
Yeah.
Let me join the meeting.
yeah, since you're here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Can I ask a question? Let me tell you.
Mhm.
So when you said tax, there's so few of them to mean.
The charging stations, apparently there's, they said there are over 10 filers that we can identify purely as EV chargers.
10 filers, so 10 entities?
Yeah, and currently in tax law, the fewer you are, the less they can disclose, because then you can start saying, oh, that's so-and-so.
Okay, so
So,
that's in terms of the disclosure, not in terms of, or that's not an issue for taxing them, it's an issue.
yeah, so
Getting
they have,
information.
yeah, I think conceptually, I don't know conceptually, I think we can get there. They just had some other concerns.
I think that's a sign that not everybody's paying.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's a wild west out there,
Yeah,
right? All this came in. But
Yeah.
I think what's, you know, in the bill now with that transparency, that's gonna sort of help align.
Right.
Like, if you're a public charger, these are your requirements, and, you know,
Yeah.
the taxing reporting would be part of that.
There is sticker on the machine that tells that they're in compliance, you know, like, I
So,
think gas pumps.
yeah, so weights and
Weights and
measures.
Yeah.
Right.
inspects Chargers, but all they're looking to do is to see, one, does it have the basic sort of information about pricing? And two is when it says it gave you a kilowatt hour, did it give you a kilowatt hour? So just like they're doing with gas pumps, they're looking to see when it says it pumped a gallon of gas, did it actually
Okay.
pump a gallon
But
of
the
gas?
price has to be visible, yes.
Yeah, price has to be visible, but they don't regulate the price and they're not enforcing tax law.
Okay, so as users of those, could people look for something, some sort of sticker or something? And if it's not there, let tax know.
Well, so Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets is
Or
the
let
one who
them
does
know.
weights and measures. Tax does tax law,
Okay,
and then the Public Utility Commission also potentially has jurisdiction over chargers.
all right, I'll ask
So
you this
it
later,
gets
but
it gets complicated, and then there
Why
are
don't we go
grants with
through it?
other
Okay.
agencies.
Why don't we go
So-
through its language?
Yeah.
Amy?
Yeah.
sorry.
So, yeah, chargers are complicated. So this language here. This would provide that the Commissioner of Taxes, in consultation with the Secretary of Transportation and the Public Utility Commission, it could also include the Department of Public Service, shall examine the potential of generating revenue for the transportation fund through a charge on the retail sale of electricity sold through EVSE available to the public. In particular, the commissioner shall examine potential options for generating revenue, including a per kilowatt hour fee, a tax on the retail sale of electricity in lieu of the sales tax. So these first two are in lieu of the sales tax. A surcharge in addition to the sales tax, and other options in the discretion of the commissioner. And then with respect to all of the options, investigate the potential ease of implementation, including anticipated administrative costs and any potential challenges. Examine and compare the benefits and drawbacks, and develop a projection for potential revenues that could be generated at different rates. And finally, identify examples of other states that have implemented the options examined, and then report back next January to the transportation and tax committees regarding any findings and a recommendation for legislative action to generate revenue from the retail sale of electricity through EVSE available to the public. We're using a standard definition for EVSE available to the public. The retail sale uses the same definition as the sales of these tax.
I had just one question, the reference to the electricity, that VSA 32.
So 32 VSA chapter 233,
Yes, that is not
sales
all.
and use tax.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it's not, but I just want to make sure we're not talking about all electricity. It's the electricity
no,
dedicated to charging. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is from the retail sale of electricity through EVSE available to the public.
Okay.
And you could really sit, I said on
But
the
it says
retail
pursuant
sale,
to 32 VSA chapter 230, would mean that's.
the sales tax charge pursuant to 32
Okay.
VSA chapter 233.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's not really about it. The way you described it is like the existing 6%, but this is a study about an additional kilowatt hour fee.
no, so the options 1 and 2 are in lieu of the existing 6%. So replace that with either a per kilowatt hour or a tax that goes direct to the transportation fund. Option 3 is an additional surcharge. So tell us what that would look like.
Is there an option just to take the 6% and put it to transportation?
Off the sales.
So the complication with that is if you have a gas station that has EV chargers, gas pumps, and a convenience store, when they file their sales tax report, they don't distinguish where the sales tax revenue came from. And so that's the tricky thing that's been highlighted. And so there isn't a way to get that sort of granularity. And I'm sure Chris and Logan can add more detail to this, but
I don't think they would be collecting that. I mean, maybe they would, I guess. They had their privately owned charger.
so, yeah,
And the utility charge the electric.
right. So there are a number of gas stations that I pass on my way to Maine when I go out to my in-laws camp out there. They're in a relatively rural area, so it's the place where everyone stops. They've got a bank of chargers down one side, they've got gas pumps, they've got their convenience store. They work with a charging network, but they often own the chargers.
I wonder if they're collecting the sales tax.
I think they're the operator of the charging station, so they would be collecting the sales tax, even if they're on the charge point network or something like that. But that's one of the complications here. It's
They should be.
the charging station operator sets the price. The network just enables payment and communication and so forth. So, and I think that's one of the issues that we run into
And here's the other
with
issue.
trying to split it out.
So the utility could be charging the sales tax to the gas station for that electricity, and then they could be
So there are
charge point, or the operator could also be charging another 6%.
there are charges on the electricity to the gas station. But the sale of that electricity to the public is subject to the sales tax.
I don't think we want to do on the sales tax on electricity and then an additional charge.
So C would,
I would,
So if the utility is selling it for a customer, they charge the sales tax there. And then that would be, the gas station would be a customer.
so,
That's why we need to study. I don't know, we don't.
You know,
figure it
that's,
out now.
no, but my intent is obviously
Yeah.
just recoup the 6%, however that's done.
Yeah.
your intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
In your intent is not to do the sales tax and then
Absolutely,
something.
yeah, correct.
Okay.
Because it's
well, I
complicated,
apologize for that, that was my drafting error. So,
but if they want to look at other things, because there's complications, because there might be.
yeah,
That would be, I think,
Yeah,
in lieu of the 6%, we might,
Yeah, if there's a way to do it.
yeah,
if you pulled out the 6% for the electricity.
Yep.
And then just charged based on what was paid at the charger. And I know that it's not always electricity, sometimes there's a parking adder or something, but overall for that service, then, you know, that might be a simpler way to do it.
and it's worth keeping in mind with other motor fuels. There's the gallonage tax that's paid in advance of it actually getting to the pump, and then you pay sales tax and what you buy at the pump. So it's common for it to be taxed at each level with respect to like the wholesale distribution, which is distribution from the utility to the charging station operator in this case,
excuse
and then
me,
retail.
but when we say commissioner, is this,
Commissioner of taxes.
and I think, other options in discretion, would be, the commissioner of taxes and, the agency of transportation.
So in the discretion of the commissioner, in consultation with the Secretary of
Yes.
Transportation. Okay,
I don't think we want to leave it just to tax.
So just a quick question, is it clear that what we are proposing or what you're proposing is that we want the energy that is taking place of the gas to be taxed at the same total amount as gas is currently?
Not the same amount, we
Or-
just want to recoup the 6%, it might not be the same amount of, we're losing now, of our gas to electricity now,
Okay,
you know,
Okay.
and that's 6%, so we want to recoup.
And I think from what I understand, he doesn't want to charge anybody more.
No, just.
Okay.
But he
yeah,
just wants the
Yeah.
tax they're paying now to go.
to go to
to-
transportation,
Yes.
which I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But if there's this wholesale amount, maybe that should go
Yeah.
to transportation too.
And that's where the study for on, might be some complications, but let's start delving into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. I think that's true.
We'll.
Yeah,
But
massage it, yeah.
more, yeah. There may be some addition to
Yeah.
this MBUF stuff before you get out of here today.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure this is all exactly.
Yeah, and I think we're working on something,
Yeah.
good, so, yeah. Well,
yeah,
so, is there a time, your budget or? Keep on telling our side, it's because of us. I mean,
Yeah, we're meeting at 1:15, and we might meet again after that.
Okay.
But the committee is gonna meet at 2, so
I don't.
Yeah.
We'll talk, I don't think we're gonna, anybody's gonna
close
be
the-
done. They're talking about the Senate meeting on the floor twice in a day next week. And given the fact that Matt is there, if we can,
get some proposals to come back Tuesday
you're right.
and then, yeah.
And
Yeah,
with the plan of being done on Tuesday.
yeah.
Can we schedule time to do it, or
Well,
maybe we gotta wait for Matt to come back?
Well, no, we can do all.
We're gonna,
Yeah,
I was gonna suggest that we meet at 8:30 on Tuesday.
yeah.
And, because the conference committee on the big bill will,
at 9:15.
at 9:50.
Yeah.
That will give us, we may have, a little more doctored up, piece on
Yeah.
the MBUP piece.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, in the meantime, like I said, we'll work on our version 2 and,
and we're hoping by that point, we'll get final confirmation from, your conference that what we're suggesting for money, and for, local option taxes might be accepted,
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
okay? Megan, if you can take us off.